Committee meeting. Justice Anderson is going to do the invocation.
Let's pray. Turn to God our Father in heaven, we come this afternoon. This meeting, that the things come before us, and that we'll do things will be beneficial and pleasing in your sight. For it's in Jesus' holy name we pray and thank God for all things. Amen.
Amen. Thank you.
Amen.
Okay, the first thing on our agenda, consideration of a resolution amending resolutions R 2322 to change section 1 to reflect a federal, not a state grant.
Move for adoption.
Second.
We have a
difficult hearing you because of the mask, I think, and
okay.
directly into the mic.
Okay. We have a first and a second. McGrew.
Thank you.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Second on the agenda, consideration of a resolution authorizing Hot Spring District Court to apply for a fiscal year 2023 Arkansas Department of Human Services Administrative Office of the Court grant to hire a peer recovery specialist. This grant is fully funded by Arkansas Department of Human Services for $50,000. Judge, do you want to have any discussion about that?
This is the same position that District 1 applied for. It's a position for district court. It will be the same thing that we've been through with Judge Ohm. It actually will go through the city. There'll be a city employee, but we're just making the committee aware that the grant has been applied for, and they will receive that $50,000 to fund a peer recovery specialist for the drug court at district as well.
Move for adoption.
Second.
We have a motion and a second on the floor. Any discussion?
A question though. What if you have a situation where you get the $50,000 grant, but you're only spending $20,000 for the individual you're hiring? What happens to the excess cash?
Anything we don't use will go back, but I think that it's going to be, depending upon the amount of match, like the withholdings that come out of there and the insurance, things of that nature, they may not be funded for a full year at $50,000. So anything on any of these grants that are funding a position like that, if you do not use it, then you have to send it back. But I don't think there's going to be a problem with using it, because when we looked at the position that we have, Susan and her staff have adjusted it to where we should get a full year, but if there's anything that runs over, like say for instance, going into next year, if our health insurance increases
Right.
dramatically, then it could cut short the period of time that we have that employee for.
Are you
Is that-
referring to that $48 that we're moving to general fund for the security
No,
grant?
I believe he's talking about the grant, the $50,000 grant that we're
It
getting.
was, but I
basic-
meant generally.
well, I know that when we go to Quorum Court, there's an issue almost like that. But that was my main question, I guess, is where I was going, is that I think sometimes we have grants, of course, where we have to match money. Usually, we spend everything that we're given, but I wasn't sure about what happened to unspent money on grants. Is that across the board that generally you have to return it?
Some of them are specify that you do not have to return the unused portion. It can be rolled over into the next year for, like, let's just use STEP grant for instance. If we don't use all of it, you can roll it forward. But most of them, if you do not use it for that position, then you have to send it back. But we haven't had that problem yet, because everything we've had has been for, a specified amount of time, and it rolls over. The only thing with this is we don't know if there's going to be a change in withholdings going into the new year, and we don't know about our health insurance either. It's taken what we have so far has been a pretty dramatic increase, and so we don't know exactly where that's going to wind up.
Thank you, Judge, I appreciate it.
We have a motion and a second on the floor. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries.
And I'm thankful that AOC has found these grants for them to utilize for a peer recovery specialist. I think it's going to be a good option for us to try to keep recidivism down.
Fourth item, consideration of an ordinance to amend Ordinance 02226 as amended, the Garland County Personnel Policy regarding technology resources, pregnant and nursing employees, and military leave, and declaring an emergency.
Move for adoption.
Second.
We have a first and we have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
These were items that were mandated to be put into our personnel policy. It's some changes in federal law that requires us to do certain things, and it's been before the HR committee and everything was explained, but it's basically things that had to be put into our personnel policy to meet the criteria set forth by the federal government
Absolutely.
and the state.
Absolutely. If there's no further discussion, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. Fifth item, consideration of an ordinance to amend Ordinance 01680 to designate alternate signatories for requisitions from the Pave It Forward Fund and to declare it an emergency.
Move we pass it up.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Yes, a question. I noticed when I read that ordinance that it says the treasurer or U.S. County judge may appoint, and then it lists the position, okay? Where I'm going with that thought is it's not shall, it's may. And I'm wondering, I guess, why that distinction? Because what we're looking for here, from what I gathered, is just to have, if you're not available, the treasurer's not available, you have somebody else stand in. And it would make sense that the people who are referenced, which would be Susan or the first deputy in the Treasury Department, that they would fill in those positions. But I guess the question is, in my mind, is why would we need to go beyond that? Because the probability of that's going to be fairly remote. So my thought was, why doesn't it say shall?
Well, the initial ordinance stated only the county judge and treasurer. So a while back, we had our treasurer out for 2 weeks, and we could not pay our Pave It Forward bills because the treasurer was not here to sign. So the language of may, those individuals will be designated prior to needing to use them. We will have those, just like our chain of command, our succession. They will be designated prior to, and Tim and I have already met and discussed it, and they'll be designated already prior to needing them. So the may or shall is not going to be a problem in this because we're going to have them taken care of already. We'll have a line of succession already in place.
Would that be in writing? I mean, where we have something we actually follow that
Yes,
we might,
just
it's
like
dictated, so to
just like our
speak.
succession, our
Okay.
chain of command. We do that. We have that in writing as well. And Tim just tried to call, but yes, Tim will appoint someone. I will appoint someone, and then they will be noted that they will be the next in line to sign if we are not available.
Okay.
And it should be. Now we're going to have to come back and revisit this again in about 3 months.
Okay. But it was just one of those things that I
Sure.
became strongly aware of the shall versus may, and it's something that happened many years ago. And
Tim just
not
didn't want
worth
anybody
going
to tell him
into.
he had to do it. So I'm just kidding. That's not.
Well, I don't mean to imply that either you or Tim would do anything that's not above board, but the fact is that
Attorneys love an option.
yeah, attorneys love an option, I guess is what it is. But it is loose as opposed to being shall. That's all.
Yes, and I understand that, and I appreciate that comment, but we'll have those designated prior to needing them so we can use them, because at any time, something could happen to either one of us. And we just realized this past year that per ordinance by Pave It Forward, nobody else could sign for it.
Nobody else has got the authority, that's correct.
Yep.
Yeah. I appreciate it. Thank you, Judge.
Any further discussion? If there's no further discussion, we have a motion and a second on the floor. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. Number 6, we have several options here, and we're just going to break them each down, if that's okay, if that pleases the court. Judge, or did you want to do them each individually? Number 6?
I guess you can if you want to. It'd probably be better if you did each one of them, let everybody have discussion on them. And
Okay, sounds great. Okay, number 6, consideration of an ordinance to amend 2023 Garland County Budget Ordinance 02257 to anticipate revenue, appropriate, and transfer funds in various budgets. A, the county judge deposited $14,406.24 with the county treasurer and the solid waste fund to appropriate in the solid waste budget for the 2023 spring fling of $4,793.50 and reimbursement from a recycle grant of $9,612.74.
so that's a reimbursement for the money that we spent. It comes out of a recycle grant with our solid waste through West Central Arkansas Planning and Development. And so we're putting that back into the solid waste fund from those items where we expended the money, and now we're getting a reimbursement for it.
Move for adoption.
We have a motion and a second on the floor. Do we have any discussion? If no further discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. B, the county judge requests an appropriation of $5,000 in the county general fund to the veteran service budget, salaries, part-time line item.
So if you'll remember back in about March or April, we appropriated some funds for a part-time position to assist our full-time VSO. Stanley B., who used to be our VSO, came back into that position, and he's worked through the summer. And our full-time VSO retired effective July 28th. So in the period of transition, we've hired a new person. So during that period of transition, we actually had 3 people working. We had our part-time, and then we had Richard Green, who was our VSO, training the new VSO, trying to get him up to speed, and he's actually doing very good. But so we are still needing the person and a half. We'll see how things go the rest of the year. At budget, we may come back and ask for another full-time position next year, or we're seeing veterans from Saline County, from Hot Spring County, from Pike County, from Montgomery County, because we're able to get things done. So we'll monitor it and see, but right now I just need enough money to finish the year out with the part-time position, getting our new person up to speed, and he's a little bit younger fellow, so I hope he stays with us for a while. His name is Mark Aho, and I've given him a hard time about his name already, but he's very bright. He's also already got his certifications, just pending his paperwork to come in, but his certifications are already here, so that will eliminate one step. Right now, until you're certified, you have to go through the district supervisor, which is in Russellville. And so that's one step that will be eliminated once he gets certified. So we'll ought to be able to speed the process up of getting our veterans some help.
Well, that sounds great. That sounds promising. Do we have a motion on the floor? If there's
Move
any
for
more,
adoption.
if there's no more discussion, okay, we have a motion
Second.
and a second. Any more discussion? No more discussion. If all approve, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries.
Before you proceed, Madam Chairman, may I make a suggestion?
Yes, sir.
That each of us who make a motion or a second do so by following with their name. It would help you identify from the standpoint, and it would certainly help me, and I think anybody else.
Absolutely. I think that's a great idea.
We just start doing that. You know, it's Larry Rainey, I make a motion, or I make a motion, I'm Larry Rainey. I don't care how we do it. It just would help, I think.
Absolutely. My record reflected Thomas Anderson made the motion and Justice McGrew second. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We already did that. Ayes carry. Motion carries. C, the county judge requested an appropriation of $100,000 in the county road fund to the county road budget to replace the traffic light at Adam Brown and Wolf Drive. The Lake Hamilton School District has agreed to cost share by reimbursing the county 50% of the cost once the project is complete.
Larry Rainey, I move we move it up or send it up, whatever you want to call it.
We have a motion on the floor.
Thomas Anderson, second.
Okay, motion and a second. Discussion.
This is a traffic light that's at the corner of Adam Brown and Wolf Drive, and it's suspended by cables. It's not on the steel arms like most of your newer traffic lights are. And so over a period of time, the cables have draped and the poles have pulled inward. And we've had a company come out about twice and tighten the cables up, but it's dragging across the top of tractor trailers when they go through their food service delivery. It's starting to drag across those. So I met with Superintendent Higginbotham, and he's agreed to share the cost on that and do a 50-50 split. The estimate we have right now, which was from 2 months ago, is about $69,000 to replace the poles and cables. So I assume there's going to be a little bit of increase in cost, but once we get it completed and paid for, then we'll submit to the school to share that cost with us.
We already got bids on it. I mean, we had bids previously.
We've got two different ways to do it. We actually had a bid for doing the arms, and we'll do an RFP on doing the cost of doing the arms was about $300,000. And so we decided the best way to go was just back with the same system there was, but we'll do an RFP on that before we actually have a contract with them. There's very few contractors that will do it. This is AAA Electrical. It's a local contractor that does installation of just about every stoplight here. But before we actually do the work, which it may even be into next year before we can get it done, but I wanted to make sure that Lake Hamilton had that in their budget as well.
Okay.
Okay, any more discussion? If there's no more discussion, all in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. D, the county judge requests an appropriation of $150,000 in the Emergency 911 Reserve Fund to the 911 budget to pay for upgrades to the public safety answering point system.
Thomas Anderson, second.
So this is every 5 years, our primary public service answering point has to do what they call an upgrade through AT&T. It's normally $35,000 per seat, and we have 5 seats. They gave us a small discount on it this time, so it was $30,000 a seat, and it's 5 seats, so it's $150,000. Now, that won't recur for about 5 years. It actually was set to recur at the beginning of the year, but we've made some changes with who all we pay the AT&T bills for, and the state of Arkansas was one of them that we changed, and their budget runs July to June. Everybody else's budget that we were doing business with runs on a calendar year. So this is something you'll see every 5 years, and hopefully it won't drastically increase in the next 5 years. It's actually about the same as it was 5 years ago when we started. So in order to keep our AT&T service working, we have to do this. We've met with them several times, and it's been to no avail. You have to do it.
Do we have any more discussion?
So they don't have any long-term contracts?
5 years, every 5 years, they call it an upgrade. It's I assume it's because of an increase in technology that they download all the new technology to you and bring you up. It doesn't do anything for your consoles. It just does with the line of service, the EZNet service that you receive.
If no more discussion, all in favor, reflect by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. E, the sheriff requests an appropriation of $14,790.06 in the county general fund to the sheriff's budget to pay the $500 deductible on 25 vehicles and direct payments to vendors for damage during the June 14, 2023 hailstorm.
Thomas Anderson, move to adopt.
Honor, second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
This is going to be an ongoing operation. You're going to see more of this. I believe we wound up with 32 vehicles damaged in the hailstorm, and so we're going to see these moving forward as to how many deductibles come along. I believe we have most of them fixed now and back in service as best we can.
And paying it to the vendor directly is just a common practice anyway. Every time I've had to pay a deductible, it was to the vendor.
We were actually blessed that we went to several different shops. The undersheriff set it up where we could use about 5 different shops in Garland County, so each one of them received about 5 vehicles, so we wouldn't be waiting long term. We had some of the vehicles that had glass knocked out of them, and we got the glass put in almost immediately, and that's something else you'll see is reimbursement for the items that we had to go ahead and pay out of pocket before we got our insurance funds. But you can't do without your patrol vehicles, so we had to get them back up and going just as quick as we could.
When we reference payments to vendors, is that basically parts?
It's the body shops. The vendors are the body shops that the insurance company gives us a check. They send us a check, but it's made out to the body shop that did the work. And so then we write a check for the deductible to the body shop as well.
Right. Okay. The reason I ask is that if you take a look at $500 deductible, it only comes up to $12,500 on those 25 vehicles, but we're asking for $14,790.
Yeah,
So I
think
was
there's-
thinking maybe the difference was parts that had to be bought outside of or maybe that sales tax on top of it, I'm not sure.
There probably is some sales tax involved. Most of the work was PDR, paintless dent repair is what we did with most of the work. There were very few parts. There was glass involved, of course, but most of it was PDR.
I do know that body shops across the county are just overflowing with work. I was lucky to get a car in and get it out in any time whatsoever.
Like I say, we were blessed to be able to get ours in, but right now I think that they're talking late October before you can even get anything in to have it looked at.
Gee.
Any more discussion? If no more discussion, all in favor reflect by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. F, the sheriff requests an appropriation of $3,540.25 in the detention facility fund to the county jail budget to pay the $500 deductible on 5 vehicles and direct payments to vendors for damage during the June 14th, 2023 hailstorm.
Thomas Anderson, move to adopt.
Rainey, second.
This is the same thing, it's just out of a different fund. It's coming from the detention center fund. We had one of those vehicles out there was nearly totaled. It had all of the glass beat out of it, but it's the same thing. It's vehicles that were damaged during the hailstorm, just different fund.
Any more discussion?
No, I thought you asked who's second.
No, I said any more discussion. Okay, if there's no more discussion, all in favor reflect by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. Item 7, consideration of an ordinance to amend the 2023 Garland County Budget Ordinance 02257 to anticipate revenue, appropriate, and transfer funds in various budgets. A, the county judge requests to anticipate the revenue of $48.80 in the court security grant fund and appropriate it in the court cost budget. He would like to transfer these funds to the county general fund and close the court security grant fund.
McCrew, second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
This is a grant that individual courts apply for. We've had several in the past that actually, I believe the last one that I know of that got this was Judge Hernsberger's court. But this has been a couple years sitting in there not being used, and so I'd like to close that grant fund out and transfer this over to County General.
Any more discussion? If no more discussion, all in favor with reflecting by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. B, the sheriff requests to appropriate the transfer of $11,771.73 in the Selective Traffic Enforcement Program, the STEP program, grant fund to the sheriff's budget from the transfers outline item to personal services line items.
Thomas Anderson, move for adoption.
Hunter, second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Second with Hunter.
Huh?
Oh, you asked for discussion.
Any discussion?
This is our STEP grant fund that we apply for regularly, and it's just to transfer the money from that grant fund to the sheriff's budget so he can pay the personal services.
Any more discussion? If no more discussion, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. C, the Circuit Court Division 1 judge was awarded $50,000 from the Arkansas Department of Human Services for a peer recovery support specialist position and would like to anticipate the revenue and appropriate $10,705.81 in the peer recovery specialist grant adult drug court fund to the Circuit Court Division 2 budget.
Thomas Anderson, move for adoption.
Rainey, second.
So this is the $10,705.81 is the money that will pay for that position for the remainder of this year. And then the rest of that money will appropriate in the '24 budget. But this is the position that was created through HR, and you've also seen it before, Finance and Quorum Court in the form of a resolution. But we're going to advertise the position, and hopefully within the next 2 weeks, we'll have someone hired.
Any more discussion? If no more discussion, all in favor, reflect by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. D, the prosecuting attorney requests $16,325 of reimbursed revenues be anticipated in the Victim of Crime Act, the VOCA fund, and appropriated in the prosecuting attorney's budget to pay salaries and benefits of the domestic violence coordinator for remainder of 2023.
Thomas Anderson, move for adoption.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
This is the VOCA grant that we receive each year. I hope we keep receiving it. It's through the prosecuting attorney's office, and it is, I believe, and Susan can correct me, I believe it is one of the grants that runs from October to September. It's got a really start and finish date, odd start and finish date on it, so that's why the amount has been requested there for the remainder of the year.
Any more discussion? If no more discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. 8, consideration of transfer of $17,711.19 from the county matching funds line item to the machinery and equipment line item in the county general fund, general services budget to pay for the county share of a generator for the mountain tower.
Randy, move forward.
We have a-
Seconders,
We have a
second.
motion and a second. Any discussion?
So this is the mountain tower up on West Mountain that has our AWIN radio system in it, and our facility up there houses all of our equipment. And the generator that we had up there was getting old and unserviceable, so this is for a new generator, cost share between the city and the county. to replace that generator. And I believe the work is complete. They made some other changes while they were there, but it runs off of propane, and it was just outdated to where we couldn't get parts or service for it any longer, and we certainly don't need the generator to go down on our radio system. So it's a replacement there. It's preventive maintenance, if you will. Yes, it's a partnership with the city on that generator.
Any more discussion? If no more discussion, all in favor reflect by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. Number 9, consideration of transfer of $2,344,006.72 from the construction in progress of contingency line item of the various cities line item in the road improvement bond fund, road improvements bond budget to properly allocate the remaining contingency balance and interest earned on the account to be used as indicated by the ordinance 01680.
Thomas Anderson, move for adoption.
Second.
So this is part of our Pave It Forward Fund, and this was a contingency that was set aside in the Pave It Forward Fund. It's been drawing interest since it was first initiated on the bond. And so we're drawing that out and dispersing it to the entities that's entitled to it, along with the amount of interest that has been drawn on it. So on the transfers, you'll notice the City of Fountain Lake, City of Hot Springs, Town of Lonsdale, City of Mountain Pine, and Garland County will be part of that transfer. But that is that's the last of the Pave It Forward money from the bond issue that will be spent. I believe that the City of Fountain Lake may have already spent most of theirs on a project, but it's being dispersed in the same manner the other was. They find a project that they want to try to do, they submit it to us, and we submit for payment from the bond holding company, and they give us the money, and we give it to them or pay their vendor for the work done.
And that amount reflects $2,344,006.72. We have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? All in favor reflect by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. Other business, Hot Springs Metro Partnership.
Gary, I'm not sure if that mic is on or not. Have you got a limp in your step there?
There we go. Vice Chair Dixon, thank you. Happy to defer if you'd like, as we did in July for that holiday, and give the report to the full quorum court. I don't know if Dr. Peters is going to be here, though. I think you've got everyone except Justice Brazil here now. So happy to give that later if you'd like, or give it now.
You want to just do it during quorum court?
Yes, we can defer it to the full quorum court. That'll be fine.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Gary.
Okay, then we'll review the position and salary adjustments, which is on the screen now.
As you can see, our sales tax continues to show well. Our overtime report, road fund has got some overtime in it. We've had several storms throughout the summer. Solid waste this past month, the month of August, as we've discussed before, 4 years ago, the transfer each month from the landfill to the general fund was about $240,000. We set a record in July of 500 and some odd thousand. In August, they did $633,000 in a transfer with the same people that they have from 5 years ago. So, like I say, they've been doing above and beyond what they should be. So there's going to be some overtime in there, but I think it's about to start leveling off. I've noticed just a little bit of it backing off, but the tonnage has been huge out there in both Class 4 and Class 1. And there's also 3 pay periods in August when you look at your, just as there were in March.
Madam Chairman,
Yes, sir.
before we go to
Vote on this, can we go back to the screen on personnel promotions, so on and so forth? It was right before that, I think. There you go. The very top promotion, I understand that we are starting out where we're not even paying grade on this position, so we are promoting, and the adjustment in salary is a adjustment to get it up to minimum combined with an adjustment to do the job he's doing, or something of a combination. Therefore, it's not controlled by the 7% limit. How did we come to be in that position? That's what my real question is.
So looking at this, it looks like all except the circuit clerk's office were actually promotions. They were moved from one position to another, which was the increase. The circuit clerk's office looked like they were started out at $30,000 and a nickel, and then they were moved up to, I assume, that increased salary, that $30,980 is the all that's in the budget for that position.
Okay.
And as far as probationary, there's not really a probationary period. I know that previous administration called some of that probationary, but it's strictly up to the elected official where they start that person out at, so long as they're in the JSAP range.
Okay. I understood what it was saying, but I just need a little more input, that's all. Thank you, Judge.
Sure. Anything else you want to look at or have questions about on that?
Not me.
Okay.
Okay. If that's all we have a motion for adjournment.
so moved.
Meeting adjourned.
Appointment to the Lake Catherine Water Works and Sewer Facilities Board of Garland County, Arkansas. They're seeking to appoint Douglas N. Stevens to a 5-year term ending September 28, 2028.
Dayton Myers, move that we give it a due pass.
Any questions or comments?
Lake Catherine Waterworks and Sewer Facilities Board is basically the Diamond Head Sewer Treatment Facility. And they ran this site, this position on their website for 30 days. They submitted 3 individuals to me, and then through vetting, this Mr. Stevens came up to be the best one of the group, and he was appointed, and he'll have a 5-year term. And they have rolling terms, so every year a new one is appointed and one comes off, sometimes they choose to stay, but the individual that was in this position did not want to stay for another term, and I understand that. There's a lot going on down there.
Judge, a number of years ago, I did actually some legal work for the Sewer Facilities Board out there, so I'm not going to vote on this issue. I'll abstain. So if there's no more discussion, we're ready to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. I abstain, and it passes. Resolution number R23-24, a resolution of the Quorum Court of Garland County, Arkansas, amending Resolution R23-22 to change Section 1 to reflect a federal grant, not a state grant.
This was the peer recovery specialist that we've talked about in every meeting for the last 2 months, I think. It was identified as a state grant, and it's actually a federal grant that's coming through the state, then being distributed to the county.
Move for a due pass. Dayton Myers.
Hunter, second.
Motion and a second for a due pass. Is there discussion or comments? And we'll vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Given a due pass. Next is Resolution R23-25, a resolution of the Quorum Court of Garland County, Arkansas, authorizing the district court judge to apply for a fiscal year 2023 Arkansas Department of Human Services Administrative Office of the Courts AOC grant on behalf of the district court.
Move for a due pass. Dayton Myers.
Second.
This is a peer recovery specialist grant, just as District 1 Circuit was. This is Judge Schweitzer in District Court applied for this grant, and this will go through the city. It will be a city employee. However, since we are split cost sharing on District Court, wanted to make sure the court was aware that this grant was coming up. There's no match. It's just like the other one was, but just want to make sure you knew what was coming.
Any questions or comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. It's given a due pass. Next is ordinance number O23-29, an ordinance to amend O-16-80 to designate alternative signatories for requisitions from the Pave It Forward Fund, to declare an emergency and for other purposes.
What are the alternate signatories for?
So when the Pay It Forward bond was passed, the money was placed in holding company, which is Simmons Bank, and the ordinance at that time designated only the county judge and the treasurer to sign off on it. So recently, we realized that at times, one of us could be out of pocket. One of us could not be available. Recently, the treasurer was out for 2 weeks. So the vendors continue to send the bills in for the work being done, and we could not pay them because we couldn't sign for it. So this is just an alternative, just as our line of succession is for if something happens to me, who has to take my place if something happens to me. This will provide a way for us to get our bills paid out of Pay It Forward should I not be available or the treasurer not be available.
Any additional questions or comments?
Move for a due pass. Dayton
Second.
Myers.
We have a motion and a second for due pass. Then we're ready to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Given a due pass. Next is ordinance number O-2330. Is that right? Yes. An ordinance to amend ordinance O-22-26 as amended, the Garland County Personnel Policy regarding technology resources, pregnant and nursing employees, and military leave, declaring an emergency and for other purposes.
Move for a due pass. Dayton Myers.
Second, Jimmy Young.
This is to meet federal and state requirements. Our personnel policy, it's things that were handed down from the federal level and the state level. And this is just so our policies meet those requirements.
Are there any questions or comments? Anybody need further explanation? We're ready to vote then. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. The ordinance is given a due pass. Appropriation ordinance number 023-31, an ordinance to amend the 2023 Garland County Budget Ordinance 0-22-57 to anticipate revenues, appropriate and transfer funds therefore to various budgets and for other purposes. Looks like several things here from the county judge, the sheriff, Circuit Court Division 1, prosecuting attorney.
Move for a due pass, Dayton Myers.
Second.
Are questions or comments?
As a non-member of this committee, Mr. Chairman, I would just like to ask a question. I know that we are boxing stuff together. Why, in this instance, we have two separate boxes tonight? Because the next ordinance is basically the same thing. Is it just a matter of how it falls on the desk, or?
No, these are all grants. That's all they are, is grants. The next one doesn't have grants in it. This is just grants on this ordinance. Is that what you're asking? Why? The other one has nothing to do with grants. I just
Okay.
try to separate them.
Oh, I follow what you're saying.
Yeah, this is all the grants.
Okey-doke.
Any further questions or comments? Proceed to vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. It's given a due pass. Appropriation Ordinance 023-22, an ordinance to amend the 2023 Garland County Budget Ordinance 022-57 to anticipate revenue, appropriate, and transfer funds therefore to various budgets and for other purposes. And based upon the last discussion, it seems to me that this is not grants, but is other funds that are administered by the county. Is that right?
Correct.
Move for a due pass, Dayton Myers.
Second, Jimmy Young.
There's a motion and a second. Is there further discussion? Further questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. It's given a due pass.
Mr. Chairman, I think that's all that's on the agenda. I've got something I'd like for us to discuss. We got a few minutes to quorum court, if that's okay. I think it's relevant to the ordinance committee.
Is that part of this committee?
I thought the resolution I'd like to discuss originated in the ordinance committee, so I think it's somewhat appropriate. I'm not proposing anything in this meeting. I just want to discuss something.
Sure, go ahead.
John, were you able to receive my email? I didn't send it very long ago, about 2.5 hours ago, in regards to Arkansas Code annotated 25-1-121. Did you get to look at that?
I haven't seen any email from you today.
Yeah, I didn't send it till about 2:30. It's my apologies. I received a statute someone emailed to me over the weekend, and it's in regards to the naming of public buildings, structures, airports, or facilities in the state of Arkansas. And I've got copies of this for everybody, but it says here in Arkansas Code annotated 25-1-121, a building, structure, or facility paid for in whole or in part with public funds shall not be named for an individual living at the time of completion of the building, structure, or facility, who in the 10 years preceding the construction of the public building, structure, or facility was elected by qualified electors to a federal, state, county, or municipal office, or held a federal, state, county, or municipal office, and received a salary for his or her service in the federal, state, county, or municipal office. My question about that was, we're sitting in a building named after a sitting elected official, and whether or not that would be in direct conflict with that state statute. I've got a copy for you, John, if you'd like to look at it.
I've probably got one. Are you looking at 25-1-121?
Yes, sir.
25-1-121 is the statute that you just described that talks about naming public facilities. If you look down there in section D1, there is an exemption to the general prohibition, which you described accurately. The general prohibition is Don't name it for somebody who's in office in a paid office. There's an exemption that effectively says, this section shall not apply to a building, other structures, that concerns an individual living at the time of completion of the building and has historical significance. And I'm assuming that you're asking, why did we name this building after Judge Mahoney? Is that the bottom line question?
Well, I don't know how historical significance, I don't know how that could be interpreted. It could be interpreted as historical significance to the individual.
That's not the way that the statute reads, and has historical significance. If you read the way the statute's set up,
I'm reading it.
grammatically, the historical significance is related to the building. So yes, I was aware of that when we proposed this, that I went to each justice individually, privately. There was no discussion amongst you or amongst yourselves privately. The issue here was, and if there's a concern, this was my idea. If there's ever a concern about that, Judge Mahoney knew nothing of this, had no idea of it, didn't want it, didn't ask for it, was totally surprised by it, and every justice was supportive of this. In my opinion, and I knew this statute existed before, that D1 is an exemption that we can apply to this situation. There are no cases that interpret this section. There are no Attorney General's opinions that interpret this section, and I believe it's a good faith place where we can apply this. Judge Mahoney put in a huge amount of work on this building, and it doesn't say construction, it says completion, which it is now complete. In my opinion, there is no guidance on this. I propose this for the purpose of recognizing an extraordinary amount of work that went into the completion of this structure. Judge Mahoney's down here basically every day for the last couple of years working on this. So the support was there. Every person was enthusiastic about it. If someone in the public is complaining and wanted to sue us, I feel that I have a good faith basis to defend it. If the Quorum Court no longer feels that it's warranted, you of course have the right to modify it at any time. I've had no questions about it other than, now Justice Myers, you've asked, and I had a question from another JP as well.
Is there cases where this has been, the historical exemption has been used in this way?
No, sir. There are 0 cases where this has been interpreted. There are no cases, no Attorney General's opinions. 0.
Okay.
I appreciate that, John. I actually went back after looking at this, and ironically enough, I was the one who made the motion in the May 8th Quorum Court meeting to adopt this resolution.
Yes, sir.
So it's obviously not something I thought it was a problem at the time. Otherwise, I probably would have had questions about it then. I have a individual who's a resident of Garland County that's reached out to me, so I guess maybe the appropriate thing to address their concern the best is I should ask for an Attorney General's opinion, just to clear things up for sure. It wouldn't be binding, but...
Well, certainly, you individually, Justice Myers, don't have the authority to do that. Quorum Court members can't ask, but a state representative could ask. We could certainly, if there is need or support for that, I can certainly arrange for us to get an Attorney General's opinion.
Are you able to ask for an Attorney General's opinion?
Not me personally, but I can contact several different options that can. Whenever we ask for one, we basically rotate it through the representatives and the senators, so we kind of have a sequence. When we need one, we say, hey, whoever's next in line, would you get this for us? Prosecuting attorney also has authority to ask for one. I don't personally. The Quorum Court does not have authority to either, nor does the judge.
I'd say there's probably merit that if I'm not the only JP that's reached out to you about this, and I reached out to you later than I should have today, didn't give you time to respond, maybe we should ask for an Attorney General's opinion.
That's a question for this group. If the group wants me to put that in motion, I'll be glad to do that.
I'd make the motion considering there's 2 JPs that have the same concern that we ask for an Attorney General's opinion. I can do it in the full Quorum Court meeting if you'd rather me do it there.
Yes, certainly it would be appropriate in the Quorum Court meeting since we're not in session at this point. We're just having a discussion.
I'll reiterate the request in new business. That's all I had.
If nothing else, we are adjourned.
Let's call the September meeting of the Garland County Quorum Court to order. It's 6 o'clock, and our opening prayer tonight would be delivered by Brother Greg Ashley. He's a local minister here, and Treasurer Stockdale asked him to come give us a little blessing tonight. If you would, Brother Greg, come up.
Let us pray. Dear Heavenly Father, our God, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the God of this great nation, take this moment to pause and to thank you for being our God. We recognize that in spite of our education, our experience, our wisdom, and our knowledge, that we're still limited, and yet we understand that we can do nothing without you. Dear God, we need you right now. Dear God, as we commemorate the 9/11 terrorist attack on our nation, that killed 2,977 people, injured thousands of others at the World Trade Center and at the Pentagon, Somerset County, Pennsylvania area, we ask that you bless all of those families and loved ones that were left behind. Give us the strength and courage to lean, trust, and depend on you. As we never will forget what happened on that dreadful day, we know that as a nation, if we forget our history, we're subject to relive it again. So, dear God, we ask that you would please grant us peace, for your love and compassion in us. Father, bring us together as a nation that is somewhat splintered. Oh God, we ask that you would give us the strength, Father, to have the love that you showed towards us by giving your only Son. Now, dear God, bless this meeting of your servants and help them to put personal agendas aside and to do your will as it relates to this county. Help them and guide their decisions. And please help them to let your justice roll like waters and righteousness and like a mighty stream and keep us in your care. Let us love, peace. In Christ our Lord. Amen.
Amen. Brother Greg, if you join us in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Brother Greg, you're welcome to stay with us, or you're welcome to go. I know you got a full plate, and I certainly appreciate you being here tonight. Thank you for the prayer and the reference to our tough time in our nation.
Good benediction.
Sir, would you please call the roll?
Justice Broughton. Here. Anderson.
Here.
Dixon.
Here.
Young. Here. Wright. Here. Owen. Here. Myers.
Here.
Brazil. Peters.
Here.
McGrew. Here. Hunter.
Here.
Brown.
Here.
Rainey.
Here.
Justice Brazil is at the fair with his students. I don't know where, there he is, he's there. Justice Peters is here. Justice Brazil is taking care of goats or something. Senator McKee is showing goats, and I think Justice Brazil is helping him. All right. Chair will needs an approval of the agenda for tonight's meeting.
Move for approval. Justice Dixon.
Justice Dixon made a motion, second by
Brown.
Justice Brown. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Chair is looking for an approval of the minutes from the August 14th meeting.
Anderson, so move.
I second it.
Anderson makes a motion to approve, second by Justice Peters. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Exhibits A through F are in your packet. Chair will entertain a motion to approve the exhibits.
So moved, Brown.
Second, Dixon.
Motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Committee reports. Ordinance Committee, Justice Owen.
All of the resolutions and ordinances received a due pass.
Thank you. Environmental Services Committee, Public Works and Buildings, Justice Hunter?
Yes, Judge, we met August the 21st. Exhibit F is a correct reflection of the meeting.
All right, thank you. Finance Committee, Justice Anderson? Excuse me, Justice Dixon?
The August 7th minutes reflect the meeting that took place. Everything received a due pass, and we had a meeting just prior to this meeting, and everything received a due pass.
Thank you. Human Resources Committee, now Justice Anderson, it's your turn.
Human Resources meeting dated 28 August, reflect business that came before us.
Thank you, sir. Public Health, Welfare, Safety Committee, Justice Rainey?
Oh, we did not meet, Judge.
All right, thank you. Information Technology Committee, Justice Young?
Judge, we met on September 7th.
And there's no minutes in here, is there?
These minutes here.
And there was 27 pages that are going to be in the next meeting.
It was good, Jeff. It's a big learning curve every time.
Thank you. Chair will entertain a motion to approve committee reports.
So moved,
Jimmy
Brown.
Young.
Justice Young and Justice Brown. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. All right. Sarah, would you read our proposed resolutions tonight by title only, starting with R 2323?
Be it resolved by the Quorum Court of Garland County, State of Arkansas, a resolution to be entitled, a resolution confirming the appointment to the Lake Catherine Waterworks and Sewer Facilities Board of Garland County, Arkansas.
Move to adopt.
Second, Rainey.
Brown.
Motion made by Justice Brown, no, Justice Peters. Second by Justice Rainey. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Thank you.
I have represented the Lake Catherine Waterworks and Sewer Service Board past, might in the future.
So you abstain?
I have abstained.
Let the record reflect that Justice Owen abstained from the vote. Sarah, R 2324 by title only.
Be it resolved by the Quorum Court of Garland County, State of Arkansas, a resolution to be entitled, a resolution of the Quorum Court of Garland County, Arkansas, amending Resolution R 2322 to change Section 1 to reflect a federal grant, not a state grant.
Move for approval.
Second.
Motion
Dixon.
made by Justice Dixon, second by Justice Broughton. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. All right, R 2325 by title only, please, Sarah.
Be it resolved by the Quorum Court of Garland County, State of Arkansas, a resolution to be entitled, a resolution of the Quorum Court of Garland County, Arkansas, authorizing the District Court Judge to apply for a fiscal year 2023 Arkansas Department of Human Services Administrative Office of the Courts AOC grant on behalf of District Court.
Move to adopt. Brown.
Second, Hunter.
Motion made by,
Brown. Second by Hunter.
all right. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Okay.
Is my mic not on?
Sarah, ordinance 2329 in its entirety, please.
Be it enacted by the Quorum Court of Garland County, State of Arkansas, an ordinance to be entitled, an ordinance to amend O16-80 to designate alternate signatories for requisitions from the Pave It Forward Fund, to declare an emergency, and for other purposes. Whereas, O16-80 authorized the issuance of sales and use tax bonds for the purpose of financing capital improvements, and pledged the proceeds of a 0.625% sales and use tax to pay principal and interest on said bonds, and created a fund, the Pave It Forward Fund, to receive and account for said proceeds, and whereas, O16-80, Article 14, requires the signature of the county judge and the county treasurer to make requisitions from the fund, and whereas, it is sometimes necessary to requisition funds when either the county judge or the county treasurer is unavailable, causing delay or making said requisitions impossible, and whereas, the orderly conduct of business necessitates the need for alternate signatories to avoid unnecessary delay, and Whereas, the Finance Committee has previously met and recommended approval, and now, therefore, be it enacted by the Quorum Court of Garland County, Arkansas. Section 1. Designee. 016-80, Article 14, excerpted language set forth below. Each requisition must be signed by the county judge and the county treasurer. Shall be amended as follows. Each requisition must be signed by the county judge or the judge's designee, and the county treasurer or the treasurer's designee. The county judge may designate the county controller. The county treasurer may designate the chief deputy treasurer. Any designation made under this section shall be in writing and filed with the county clerk. Section 2. Emergency clause. It is found by this court that an emergency exists, as the orderly conduct of business requires an immediate need, and therefore this ordinance shall be in full force and effect from the date of passage and approval.
Judge, I move we suspend the rules and put ordinance O-2329 on its second reading by title only.
Second.
Motion made by Justice Brown, second by Justice Dixon, to place O-2329 on its second reading by title only. Sarah, please call the roll.
Justice Broughton?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Dixon?
Yes.
Young?
Yes.
Bright? Owen? Myers?
Yes.
Peters?
Yes.
McGrew?
Yes.
Hunter?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Rainey?
Yes.
All right. Sarah, please read O-2329 by title only.
Be it enacted by the Quorum Court of Garland County, State of Arkansas, an ordinance to be entitled, an ordinance to amend O-1680 to designate alternate signatories for requisitions from the Pay It Forward Fund to declare an emergency and for other purposes.
Judge, I move we suspend the rules and place ordinance O-2329 on its third reading by title only.
Second.
Motion made by Justice Brown, second by Justice Broughton, to place O-2329 on its third reading by title only. Sarah, call the roll.
Justice Broughton?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Dixon?
Yes.
Young?
Yes.
Bright? Owen? Myers?
Yes.
Peters?
Yes.
McGrew?
Yes.
Hunter?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Rainey?
Yes.
All right, Sarah, O-2329 by title only.
Be it enacted by the Quorum Court of Garland County, State of Arkansas, an ordinance to be entitled, an ordinance to amend O-1680 to designate alternate signatories for requisitions from the Pay It Forward Fund to declare an emergency and for other purposes.
Judge, I move we adopt ordinance O-2329, including the emergency clause.
And I
Second. Dixon.
Motion made by Justice Brown to adopt O-2329, including the emergency clause. Second by Justice Dixon. Sarah, please call the roll.
Justice Broughton?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Dixon?
Yes.
Young?
Yes.
Bright? Owen? Myers?
Yes.
Peters?
Yes.
McGrew?
Yes.
Hunter?
Yes.
Brown? Rainey?
Yes.
All right, Sarah, please read O-2330 in its entirety.
Be it enacted by the Quorum Court of Garland County, State of Arkansas, an ordinance to be entitled, an ordinance to amend Ordinance O-22-26, as amended, the Garland County Personnel Policy regarding technology resources, pregnant and nursing employees, and military leave, declaring an emergency, and for other purposes. Whereas, Ordinance O-22-26, as amended, approved and adopted a revised Garland County Personnel Policy, and whereas, it is periodically necessary to review and revise the personnel policy as changes in the law and circumstances require, and whereas, it has become necessary to revise the personnel policy to update provisions regarding technology resources, pregnant and nursing employees, and military leave, as set forth herein, and whereas, the Human Resources Committee previously met and recommended approval. Now, therefore, be it enacted by the Quorum Court of Garland County, Arkansas. Section 1. Technology Resources. In order to comply with Act 504 of 2023, the Garland County Personnel Policy shall be amended by adding the section set forth below directly following County Employment Policies, K, County Property, and the sections shall be renumbered and relettered as necessary. Technology Resources. This policy is established in accordance with ARC Code N 25-1-126, Act 504 of 2023. Technology resources is defined as the machines, devices, and transmission facilities used in information processing, including computers, word processors, terminals, telephones, cables, software, and related products. The devices used to process information through electronic capture, collection, storage, manipulation, transmission, retrieval, and presentation of information in the form of data, text, voice, or image and includes telecommunications and office automation functions. Any component related to information processing and wired and wireless telecommunications, including data processing and telecommunications hardware, software, services, planning, personnel, facilities, and training. The procedures, equipment, and software that are designed, built, operated, and maintained to collect, record, process, store, retrieve, display, and transmit information, and the associated personnel, including consultants and contractors, and all electronic mail accounts issued by a public entity. The county's technology resources shall not be used to express a personal political opinion to an elected official unless the opinion is within the scope of the employee's regular job duties, or requested by an elected official or public entity. Engage in lobbying an elected official on a personal opinion if the employee is not a registered lobbyist for the public entity. Engage in illegal activities or activities otherwise prohibited by federal law or state law, or intentionally override or avoid the security and system integrity procedures of the public entity. Each elected official shall create disciplinary procedures for a violation of this policy concerning authorized use of technology resources. The disciplinary procedures created pursuant to this section shall not apply to employee communications made in compliance with the Public Employees Political Freedom Act of 1999, ARC Code N21-1-501, ETSEQ, or the Arkansas Whistleblower Act, ARC Code N21-1-601, ETSEC. Section 2. Military leave. In order to comply with Act 529 of 2023, the Garland County Personnel Policy shall be amended by adding the section set forth below to the section titled Administrative Leave and Other Benefits and Military Leave, and the sections shall be renumbered and relettered as necessary. Military leave. This policy is established in accordance with ARC Code N14-15-506, Act 529 of 2023, and is intended to apply in addition to any other applicable provisions of state and/or federal law. ARC Code N14-15-506 provides a paid, full-time deputy sheriff who is a member of the armed forces of this state or any other state, including without limitation the National Guard or a reserve component or auxiliary of the United States Armed Forces, shall be granted leave at the rate of 168 hours per calendar year plus necessary travel time for annual training requirements or other duties performed in an official duty status. B. Unused leave granted under subsection A of this section shall accumulate for use in the succeeding calendar year until the leave granted under this section totals 168 hours at the beginning of a calendar year, for a maximum number of 336 hours available in any one calendar year. C. Leave shall be granted under this section without loss of pay and shall be in addition to regular vacation time. D. A paid, full-time deputy sheriff who requests military leave under this section shall furnish a copy of his or her orders for his or her personnel file before leave is granted. Section 3. Pregnant and nursing employees. In order to comply with revisions in federal law and ARC Code N11-5-116, the Garland County Personnel Policy shall be amended by adding the section set forth below directly following county employment policies, O, conflict of interest disclosure, and the sections shall be renumbered and relettered as necessary. Pregnant and nursing employees. 1. The county complies with the Pump for Nursing Mothers Act, Pump Act, Pregnant Workers Fairness Act, PWFA, and ARC Code N11-5-116, regarding employee break time for expressing breast milk. 2. The Pump Act provides most nursing employees with the right to take reasonable break time to express breast milk for their nursing child for 1 year after the child's birth each time the employee has need to express the milk. The Pump Act also entitles employees to a place to pump at work, other than a bathroom, that is shielded from view and free from intrusion from co-workers and the public. 3. The PWFA provides for reasonable accommodations to an employee's known limitations related to pregnancy, childbirth, or related medical conditions, unless the accommodation will cause the employer undue hardship. 4. ARC Code N11-5-116 requires an employer to provide reasonable unpaid break time each day to an employee who needs to express breast milk for her child in order to maintain milk supply and comfort. An employer shall make a reasonable effort to provide a private, secure, and sanitary room or other location in close proximity to the work area, other than a toilet stall. The room or location may be the employee's normal workspace if it meets the listed requirements. The employer is not required to provide break time if to do so would create an undue hardship on the operations of the employer. The employee shall make reasonable efforts to minimize disruption to the employer's operations. 5. Any request for accommodation under these laws shall be subject to the interactive process, a good faith discussion between the employer and employee, to attempt to identify an appropriate reasonable accommodation. Section 4. that the county judge or his or her designee is hereby authorized to make editing and formatting revisions to the policy document as needed, provided that any such revisions do not make substantive changes. Section 5. That time being of the essence due to legislative mandates at the state and federal level, an emergency is hereby declared, and this ordinance shall be in full force and effect upon passage. Section 6. That if any portion of this ordinance or the application thereof to any person or circumstance is held invalid, such invalidity shall not affect the other provisions or applications of the ordinance which can be given effect without the invalid provisions or application, and to this end the provision of this ordinance is declared to be severable. Section 7. That this ordinance shall be codified in the Garland County Code of Ordinances, and the sections may be renumbered and relettered to accomplish such intention. Attest, ______.
Judge, I make a motion that we suspend the rules and place ordinance O-2330 on its second reading by title only.
Second.
Motion made by Justice Brown, second by Justice Anderson. Place O-2330 on its second reading by title only. Sarah, please call the roll.
Justice Broughton?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Dixon?
Yes.
Young?
Yes.
Bright? Owen? Myers? Peters?
Yes.
McGrew?
Yes.
Hunter?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Rainey?
Yes.
All right, Sarah, please read O-2330 by title only.
Being enacted by the Quorum Court of Garland County, State of Arkansas, an ordinance to be entitled, an ordinance to amend ordinance O-2226 as amended, the Garland County Personnel Policy regarding technology resources, pregnant and nursing employees, and military leave, declaring an emergency and for other purposes.
Judge, I make a motion that we suspend the rules and place ordinance O-2330 on its third reading by title only.
I second it.
Motion made by Justice Brown, second by Justice Broughton. Sarah, please call the roll.
Justice Broughton?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Dixon?
Yes.
Young?
Yes.
Bright? Owen? Myers?
Yes.
Peters?
Yes.
McGrew?
Yes.
Hunter?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Rainey?
Yes.
All right, Sarah, please read O-2330 by title only.
Be it enacted by the Quorum Court of Garland County, State of Arkansas, an ordinance to be entitled, an ordinance to amend ordinance O-2226 as amended, the Garland County Personnel Policy regarding technology resources, pregnant and nursing employees, and military leave, declaring an emergency and for other purposes.
Move for adoption.
Second.
Motion made by Justice Dixon, second by Justice Anderson to adopt O-2330. Is that with the emergency clause, Justice Dixon?
Yes, sir.
And your second is as well?
Yes.
Justice Anderson? All right. Any discussion? Hearing none, Sarah, please call the roll.
Justice Broughton?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Dixon?
Yes.
Young?
Yes.
Bright? Owen? Myers?
Yes.
Peters?
Yes.
McGrew?
Yes.
Hunter?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Rainey?
Yes.
All right, Chair will entertain a motion to suspend the rules and read appropriation ordinances by title only.
So moved.
Motion made by Justice Anderson, second by Justice Brown. Sarah, please call the roll.
Justice Broughton?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Dixon?
Yes.
Young?
Yes.
Bright? Owen? Myers?
Yes.
Peters?
Yes.
McGrew?
Yes.
Hunter?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Rainey?
Yes.
All right, O-2331 by title only, please.
Be it enacted by the Quorum Court of Garland County, State of Arkansas, an ordinance to be entitled, an ordinance to amend the 2023 Garland County Budget Ordinance O-2257 to anticipate revenues, appropriate and transfer funds, therefore to various budgets and for other purposes.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Motion made by Justice Brown, second by Justice Peters to adopt O-2331. Any discussion? Bless you. Sarah, please call the roll.
Justice Broughton?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Dixon?
Yes.
Young?
Yes.
Bright? Owen? Myers?
Yes.
Peters?
Yes.
McGrew?
Yes.
Hunter?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Rainey?
Yes.
Bless you. Okay, Sarah, O-2332 by title only, please.
Be it enacted by the Quorum Court of Garland County, State of Arkansas, an ordinance to be entitled, an ordinance to amend the 2023 Garland County Budget Ordinance O-2257 to anticipate revenue, appropriate, and transfer funds, therefore to various budgets and for other purposes.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Motion made by Justice
Brown.
Brown, second by Justice Peters to adopt O-2332. Any discussion? Hearing none, Sarah, please call the roll.
Justice Broughton?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Dixon?
Yes.
Young?
Yes.
Bright? Owen? Myers?
Yes.
Peters?
Yes.
McGrew?
Yes.
Hunter?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Rainey?
Yes.
All right. Mr. Troutman, would you like to give your report, please, sir?
Last time, our Majestic Committee's had a meeting with Steve Harrison and involving Visit Hot Springs as their level of expertise is in certain things regarding tourism, so we're opening up that avenue there. We had a good visit, Cole, Gary and I had a good visit with Scott Bailey, who's the interim CEO of National Park Medical Center. We're thoroughly impressed and hoping for the camp. Cole and Gary attended the Mid-America Aerospace and Defense Summit in Rogers to support 3 of our aviation companies that were there, Tech Supply and Triumph. I was here in town because Joe Quinn and I moderated a session at the Managers Conference, the SHRM Managers Conference, and gathered research for our upcoming project. City Manager Burrow joined me in Little Rock for the ABC State Conference. We had a session on chamber and community relations. I think we all appreciate how important those are, and we were joined there unexpectedly by some the conference is going to bring out that we remind you we get to host that next year, and the last had a nice article in Arkansas Business on Majestic, Majesty Awaits was the name of it, by Clay Flores' daughter, ironically, since Clay led our committee for the first 3 years. Probably featured Cole and some good quotes from our committee. Workforce Advisory Committee had another meeting as we worked towards submitting that project and a couple of Zoom calls. We had a couple more meetings on the Majestic as well. And last week in Benton, Cole, Gary, and I attended the Employer Forum at Sloan County Tech Center with Governor Sanders and Mike Rogers, who is the workforce director. And really a lot of positive info. We talk a lot about workforce, but to have a day and the commitment that there is, there were several state senators, McKee, and a couple, something that we needed to do for some time, as I told you before, 10,000 babies in your town every day, and numbers we're back in time for a broadband leaders network. The judge has set us up there. And if you're on Facebook and look today, some really exciting news in Little Rock. Oakland is set to sponsor the Royals Award. The Royals Award is the national award for the top assistant football coach in America. And in the past, David Baffle has hosted it for 28 years, but it's always been in season. A lot of times the assistant would have to fly in that morning and fly out, or miss the ceremony altogether. With the college playoff, they'll be expanding to 12 teams. It's kind of a foregone conclusion this event will have to be moved into February, at which point not only can the assistant coaches come and more of the head coaches as well. And so this is a major coup for our community. Congratulate Wayne Smith, the Sella family, everybody at Oakland involved, and that was meet with the Garland about, that 1 out of every 10 chicken sandwiches you have at Chick-fil-A is a Keith Smith chicken. Chicken sandwich you have from Popeyes is made from batter produced right here at Carrie Foods. Rubber bands in the entire world. So uses the stories we want to convey. We're going to start with 8 prayers. We intend to bring companies in and talk to 11 and 12 prayers as they are closer to actual hiring. That concludes my report.
I got a couple questions, Gary. I'm surprised you didn't give kudos to the Sentinel Record. Y'all have had a couple of really good articles today and yesterday in the newspaper. I want to say, Cole, that was I really enjoyed reading the article today, especially. I didn't realize how historically well the Metro Partnership has done, and you deserve credit for what you've done downtown, Cole. I heard that the Park Hotel got bought last week, and the developer Joe France is going to remodel that. So that was a very, very good article in the paper this morning. I thought it was great. I've got a copy of the one from Sunday, and I just have a couple questions about it, Gary. It says in here, quoting directly from the article, according to reports obtained from Hot Springs Metro Partnership, in the last 5 years, over 1,300 new high-wage jobs and over $300 million in investment from primary employers were announced in the region. Where's there been 1,300 new jobs created in Garland County that the Metro Partnerships had direct affiliation with?
I can't speak extemporaneously on all those new jobs created, but there was some information in one of those new business reports that you requested a few months ago. I can look back in my records and see if there's anything else that might exist. We've got records on all those new jobs. That's how we arrived at that number. There is one potential issue with projects that are worked with AEDC. Some local companies choose an option where the information or the project is not publicized, not, I don't know what the correct terminology is, but essentially a private company can work a project with AEDC and they can check the box on the application and that information is not a public record. So I have information of all the new jobs created that are a public record, but there could potentially be some that are not.
Can you tell me 100 of the new jobs, where 100 of them came from? 50?
Off the top of my head, over the last few years, work projects at Mount Valley Water, Triumph Airborne, Alliance Rubber. Most of the projects have come from manufacturers within Garland County, most of the manufacturers.
I think all the companies you just named are existing businesses. Are any of those brand new businesses?
Off the top of my head, the Fiber Pro in 2020, I believe, was
That's
the
one.
business we recruited in town.
That's in the report. That was a good one. It was 69 new jobs. That's pretty good. You know, economic development. I saw someone said, one of y'all said, it may have been, I don't know who it was, said that economic development is not just about bringing in new businesses. It's about helping the businesses that are already here. I don't think that that's what the definition of economic development is. Economic development is offering incentives and doing things, especially like they're doing over in North Little Rock, providing tax breaks and all kinds of sales tax incentives to get new businesses in. I mean, Terry Hartwick's doing some phenomenal things, former chamber guy. But that's, I guess, I mean, if I could take credit for 1,300 new jobs, I'd be able to list at least 100 of them off the top of my head. I've got, Cole, I don't know if you want to take this question or not. This one might be for Gary. Gary, does the Hot Springs Metro Partnership have a position on the sexual mutilation of children?
No, we don't have any position. The partnership is a non-political entity. We do not take a stance. As far as economic development, I beg to differ. That's entirely incorrect. The DRE, business retention expansion, is the 80-20 rule. 80% of most of your new jobs comes from existing businesses. We are very blessed in Garland County and Hot Springs. One thing that Cole and I really have not had to do in my 6 years or his 10 is do a lot of massaging to keep a company here. You know, a lot of times you hear all these great stories you hear about as Justice Byron said, the packages that maybe a state of Tennessee or Texas may have. But what they don't tell you is when they gain these new projects, they're also working to keep several of their companies in town at the same time. We don't really have that problem. The only issue that we've had in recent years has been the dissolution of the call center industry. So that affected us with conduit, just as it did with Sykes in Malvern. That was a huge loss for Malvern. That was an industry thing, that wasn't a location thing. Our folks, we have great relationship with our present companies. As Cole mentioned, a lot of our growth comes from them. Fibertech was a new one. But I mean, I don't have to go around the circles to you, just real briefly. Keith Smith is a Garland County company. We're going to stay in Garland. I'm Bellin Water. Alliance Rubber moved here from Alliance. So these are companies that are rooted in Garland County, and we can count on them. So it is a very strong base for us, but it is a luxury with our quality of life that we don't have to fight so hard to keep these companies. They're committed to hot springs.
The question I asked about the mutilation of children, I got it back and forth. You said that the chamber or the Metro Partnership is a apolitical organization, but in the bank statements that y'all provided to me a few months ago in response to my FOIA request, I've got a check written from the Hot Springs Metro Partnership Regions account to the Arkansas State Chamber dated September 9th of 2020 for $750, and another one to the Arkansas State Chamber from the Hot Springs Metro Partnership Regions account for $1,000 dated July 15th of 2022. The State Chamber, by its nature, is a political organization, and you've got $1,750 of taxpayers' money going to a registered lobbyist. You wrote the check. You signed you're one of the signatures on both the checks, Gary. What'd you give that $1,750 for to the State Chamber? Oh, I just got some questions. You're here to give a report. There's an amicus brief that the State Chamber filed in a case styled Dylan Brand et al. Versus Leslie Rutledge in her official capacity as the Arkansas Attorney General et al., which references what's the act number? Of 2021, Act 1626, that made Arkansas the first state in the nation that prohibit physicians from performing gender transition procedures on minors. One of the parties that have signed on to this amicus brief, believe it or not, is the Arkansas State Chamber of Commerce, where you've got taxpayers' money going to that has ended up suing the state of Arkansas. I'll read here the statement, and I'll be happy to give anybody a copy of this amicus brief. It says in here, where is it? The Arkansas Chamber of Commerce is the leading voice for Arkansas businesses and serves as the primary business advocate on all issues affecting Arkansas employers. With nearly 1,200 members, the Chamber represents a network of companies whose common goal is to improve the business climate in Arkansas. This includes promoting greater diversity, equity, and inclusion. Those three words are three words that Republicans do not like to hear. And this brief goes on to say that if that act were put into place, it would actually keep businesses from wanting to come to Arkansas, because we have a law in place that protects our children from transgender reassignment surgery. And you, sir, wrote a $1,000 check and a $750 check to that organization that is suing the state of Arkansas. I don't know what explanation you can offer for that, but I absolutely find it completely atrocious.
Well, you know, you're again to do my report. I'd be glad to research that and Cheryl provide an explanation. But obviously, I'm not prepared to do all our books and every check that was cut in the past year. I suppose it's probably easy to dive in and look for that, but I don't have that at this moment right now.
Not able to answer the question. That's okay. Thank you, Gary.
Any more questions? Chair will entertain a motion to approve the report.
Second.
Motion made by Rainey, second by Anderson. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign.
No.
Thank you.
Thank you, Gary. Thank you, Cole. In your package, you've got an overtime report, and Susan reminded me that the month of August was 3 pay period month rather than just 2 pay period month, so it may reflect more overtime than what you would normally see. If you've had a chance to look at that, Chair would entertain a motion to approve that overtime report.
Second.
Motion made by Brown, second by Peters. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. And acknowledgement of disposal of county property. We had a few things in your packet that were disposed of, no longer used. Some old books that came out of the District 1 Circuit Court, some things that were just no longer of any use. One of them would not work any longer, so it's a list of the things that we'd gotten rid of there. If you've had a chance to look at that, Chair will entertain a motion to approve that list of items that are being removed from county property.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Justice Rainey, second by Justice Peters. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Don't think there's any old business. I believe Mr. Myers has some new business he'd like to discuss.
I do. I think everybody was at the ordinance committee meeting except for maybe Justice Peters, but in reference to what I was talking about there in regards to the Arkansas Code Annotated 25-1-121, and myself and apparently another justice of the peace have asked questions about whether or not it's within the bounds of that statute for us to have this building named the Mahoney Building. So I would move to ask, make a motion to ask the county attorney or the county judge, whoever be most appropriate, to reach out to one of our state legislators, and John said that he could secure us an attorney general's opinion through one of those legislators to ask for clarification on whether subsection D1 of that statute provides an exemption for a building being named after a current elected official.
Justice Myers, if I may interject, while we were going through the rest of the meeting, I was perusing the code on it and the procedural ordinance. So I think to do this correctly, to do what you're attempting to accomplish here, we need to do it by resolution, number one, that the Quorum Court is asking for an Attorney General's opinion so that we can get a proper request. So that would need to run through a meeting, and it looks like the most appropriate meeting is probably Public Works and Buildings, which I believe will be on the 25th.
I beg to differ with that respectfully, John. The ordinance that named the building was slipped in on the last second at our ordinance committee meeting on May 8th. And now we're going to, just because I've got the request and it's not coming from you, we've got to assign it to a different committee against the advice that you gave me during the ordinance committee. You said, you are the county attorney, and you said that I could make the motion in this meeting. Now you're telling me I can't.
Justice Myers, you're going to have to tone it down just a little bit.
I don't see why.
I do.
Or what?
You're going to have to tone it down. There's no reason to be talking in the manner that you're talking.
I don't see anything wrong with the manner I'm talking in.
Garland County hired John to be our attorney. He gives us legal advice. If he says that it needs to go through another committee, then that's what it needs to go through, in the form of resolution.
So two things, if I may follow up, Justice Myers, in response to your question. Number one, I think it does need to be by resolution so that it can go through the process of having the board vote on it. Number two, Judge Mahoney can't preside over it, so it would have to have another of the JPs appointed to preside over the question of, hey, do we want to get this Attorney General's opinion? And if you'll recall, when we did the initial resolution, Justice Broughton, maybe? I don't remember if it was Justice Rainey or Broughton, Anderson. I don't remember who did it, but we would need someone else to preside over that.
It was, in the Quorum Court meeting, it was Justice Anderson. I made that motion also, to have Justice Anderson do it, so.
In any event, it would need to be someone else. Judge Mahoney couldn't properly preside over that. So it's my opinion that this should run through a committee, and Public Works looks to be the best one, and I think that one meets on the 25th. I believe that's Justice Young. Is that your committee?
Vice.
It'll be the third Monday. It'll be next Monday, I believe.
I'm vice.
Nub Hunter.
Nub Hunter. Yep.
You're the chair of the Public Works and Buildings, and It meets on the third Monday, which will be,
Next Monday.
yeah, next Monday.
So I can prepare whatever documents are necessary. I'll be out of the state. I won't be able to attend that, but that shouldn't be a reason to not conduct this meeting. It's fairly simple.
We have some other business to deal with, Public Works, environmental business anyway, so we're going to have that meeting, so it'll be a good time to do it.
I'm okay with that.
Any other business? We are adjourned.